All right, folks, as we look at this schedule here, I'm going to ultimately maybe lose the USC contingent. I'm going to have them all over me after I make this statement, but I'm going to preface it with this. I don't think there's a game on the schedule that is a certain loss. So let's state that because I tend to be a little bit more open-minded about the potential of wins and losses. So for example, if we went through and I see this all the time during the preseason where various people make their projections, not just that the record's going to be 9-3 or 10-2, but the specific wins and losses. And typically you project those to be the logical ones. However, if you review a college football season, I'd say, well, first of all, there are 2 or 3 upsets every week of double-digit magnitude. So they're not always the obvious ones. So let's keep that in mind. Also, that again, I believe that USC can win every game on the schedule. Now, to the probabilities of winning every game, that's going to be a difficult task, of course, 12-0. But I'm talking about individually from week to week, they can beat anyone on the schedule. On the flip side, and therefore, I am very much, Matt, I'm in your tier when it comes to being not super bullish on taking the over with USC, but I'm certainly leaning heavily that direction myself. But if we take these games and we look at how USC performed last year, let's say USC is generally the same football team, that even though the productivity of the offense is going to look much different on the field, let's say the actual results of the offense are similar and the results of the defense are similar. If these teams are similar to what they were last year, these first 6 games, they're losing against LSU, they're losing at Michigan, they're losing against Penn State, and they will have a tussle at home against Wisconsin. They're a 3-3 football team after 6 games. If they are no better than they were last year, and if these teams are comparable to what they were last year.
Can't argue with any of that because yeah, I mean USC was beating the likes of Arizona State and Colorado, and of course that Arizona win turned out to be a lot better at the end of the season than any of us imagined at the time. But yeah, so like if you remember how poorly USC played in late September in Tempe against Arizona State, and then in Boulder on that big noon Saturday game against Colorado, and you replace Arizona State and Colorado with LSU and Penn State, yeah, what were wins in the first half of 2023 are going to be losses this year. My thought for you, Mark, and also for everyone watching here at the Voice of College Football, my thought about USC's schedule, obviously the trip to the Big House in Ann Arbor, it hasn't been officially announced as a big noon Saturday game, but like, come on, let's be honest. That's almost certain to be a big noon Saturday game. So it's going to get tons of major national attention. And of course, USC Michigan playing as Big Ten competitors. It's going to be the first Big Ten game of the season for both teams. Michigan coming off the national championship. It's going to be a huge event, and obviously there's going to be just a ton of media attention. So naturally, rightly, appropriately, USC fans really, really want to win that game. Here's where old contrarian Matt enters the conversation. I want to win that game, and it's a big game. Not going to get an argument from me there. But I'm not thinking of, USC has to win that Michigan game. And in fact, if USC gets dressed down by Michigan in that game, it actually could be the best thing to happen to this team. Now, the game I really want to win is LSU, because I think if USC can bank a high quality win that's likely to look very good at the end of the season, that's going to give this team confidence. But then I think when you go to Michigan, USC is not going to be favored in that game. Period. I can't see any set of circumstances or plot twists that would enable USC to enter that game as the favorite. Would you want to lose that game in agonizing fashion, such that you walk out of that game thinking that you're a really good team and like everything's going fine. I actually think that getting the doors blown off by Michigan would be a splash of cold water that makes sure that no one in that locker room is complacent. No one in that locker room is overconfident heading into that Wisconsin, Minnesota, Penn State stretch. And so it's kind of a thing where, if you're gonna, Martin Luther said, if you're gonna sin boldly. Well, in my case, it's if you're gonna lose, like get all the bad football out of your system in one game, and then the rest of your season can feature solid, consistent football. And I'm not expecting people to agree with me. I'm not expecting people to like what I'm saying right now. But I actually think that because this Michigan game is coming early in the season, like that's a particular point. If this was a late October, early November game, I wouldn't be processing that Michigan game the way I am now. But I think that like getting a smackdown by Michigan could be that moment of sobriety, which enables USC to remain focused, humble, appropriately, intent on being precise, on bringing the right mentality to every game. And so, like, let Michigan be a kind of dumping ground. Let Michigan be the one really bad game of the year, and then let the rest of the season reflect adjustments, coaching, hunger, discipline, everything that we're hoping for at USC. And I think that could be the path to a 10-2 record and the college football playoff. So my prediction right now for a USC record, 9-3. I think 9-3 is just about right for this team. I'm not willing to go to 10-2, and it's because USC hasn't landed the defensive tackles in the transfer portal that it really did need, especially after Isaiah Rakes left the program. I just don't think USC's defensive depth is quite at the 10-win level. But if there is a path to 10-2, I would say get it all out of your system in that Michigan game, which creates a better, more cohesive team dynamic, the requisite level of humility in that locker room to then go forward and take care of business against much more manageable Big Ten opponents.
When I'm projecting a record, I typically group games together. So I'm not going to just flat out say, okay, if they go 9-3, they're going to lose to LSU, Michigan, and Penn State, let's say. Now, I can do that, and maybe I will do that later in the summer. But as it stands right now, I look at it this way. Most likely, they split LSU and Michigan. And most likely, they split Wisconsin and Penn State. I know both of those games are at home. And then they have the Notre Dame game at the Coliseum late in the season. So I'm leaning gun to head. My call is 9-3. However, again, we tend to look at all the big boys, but don't discount a trip to Maryland in October. I wouldn't look past that game at all.
Just ask Kevin Riley and those California Golden Bears. For those Pac-10 historians in the crowd. Yeah, under Jeff Tedford, Cal played a noon game, 9 a.m., a body clock game.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about Stanford Northwestern in 2015.
Sure.
Stanford didn't handle the body clock game. Well, Cal didn't handle a body clock trip to College Park under Tedford.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
I do not recall that one back when Maryland was in the ACC. Yep.
Yes. So I think Michigan and Notre Dame are the likely losses on the schedule, and then I'm not sure about the third loss, but I just think that at some point either attrition or Miller Moss not being at his best, USC is going to trip up in one other game. But Michigan and Notre Dame are the two games I think USC is going to lose. So I do think USC is going to beat Penn State, and I do think USC is going to beat LSU.